The badge that remembered. Hook. The sirens had already stopped, but the silence that followed was worse. Every camera on Pennsylvania Avenue turned toward a single figure, an old man standing in the rain, surrounded by uniforms. No one knew who he was. No one understood why the captain in charge had frozen mid-command. The parade halted. The crowd held its breath, and then light caught something on the man's coat. A badge. Bent, scorched, half-forgotten. The kind of relic that shouldn't exist anymore. The captain's hand rose slowly to his brow. He saluted not out of protocol, but recognition. Somewhere, deep in the city's noise, a story long buried was about to surface. It began 50 years earlier, in a jungle the government swore was never there. Morning light spilled across Pennsylvania Avenue, turning the rain-slick pavement to gold. Flags snapped in the wind. Drums rolled like distant thunder. It was Veterans Day, Washington's proudest hour. Captain Ryan Cole adjusted his earpiece, eyes hidden behind mirrored sunglasses. 11:05, 4 minutes until the president's convoy reached the stand. "Keep the route clear," he ordered. Static answered, then silence. A squeak cut through the rhythm. A cart, metal wheels scraping asphalt. Ryan turned. An old man in a torn coat pushed a pile of cans toward the barricade. He stooped, picked up a small American flag dropped by a child, and brushed the dust off with surprising care like someone handling a relic. Officer Blake was first to react. "Hey, you can't be here." The man didn't move. He just looked at the flag, lips moving in a quiet whisper. Blake's voice rose. "Sir, step back. This area's restricted." The man looked up, eyes calm, not defiant. "I've walked this street before," he said. Long before the fences. Ryan turned toward the sound. Something in the tone, half memory, half sorrow, made him pause. He nodded to Sergeant Lewis. "Handle it." Lewis reached out, took the man's sleeve. The coat fell open. A glint of metal flashed under the fabric. Lewis frowned, pulling it free. A half-broken badge. Its edges burned black. 2 words barely visible under soot. Falcon 9. Ryan froze. That name didn't exist in any police record. It existed only in a photograph he kept in a box at home, a photo of his father's unit in Vietnam. A unit the government insisted had never existed. He stepped forward slowly. "Where did you get that?" The old man straightened, voice gravelly but sure. "Didn't get it. Carried it. Since 1971. Ryan's pulse quickened. That was the year his father, Major Henry Cole, vanished in the A Shau Valley. Blake shook his head. "Don't listen to him, Captain. Probably picked it up at a flea market." Ryan frowned, pulling out his radio. "Dispatch. Run a name, Jack Danner. Vietnam era." Static. Then a reply. "No record found." His stomach turned. How many times had he seen men on the street wearing fake medals? Too many. But something in the old man's eyes, steady, unafraid, made him hesitate. Ryan crouched slightly. "Your name's Jack Danner." The man nodded once. Ryan's voice dropped. "Then tell me something only he'd know." "My father, Major Cole." Jack studied him for a long moment. Then, quietly, "Your father. We called him Hawk. Because when he looked at you, he saw right through you." Ryan's heart lurched. No one outside the family knew that name. Jack went on. "He had a scar on his left wrist, crescent-shaped. Got it in basic. He said it looked like the moon was trying to keep him company." Ryan's hand twitched toward his own wrist. He'd seen that scar in a faded Polaroid, his father holding him as a baby. He swallowed hard. "Who are you really?" Jack looked up, rain sliding down the deep lines of his face. "I told you. Sergeant Jack Danner, Falcon 9. The earpiece crackled again. 30 seconds until convoy movement. "Clear the route." Ryan ignored it. Blake whispered. "Captain, what do we do?" Ryan's hand came up, sharp. "Stand down." The old man reattached the badge to his coat. Sunlight slipped through the clouds, catching the metal for just a second. Ryan's voice was low. "You served with my father." Jack nodded. "He was brave. Braver than any report could say." The drums softened to silence. Even the crowd seemed to feel it, the stillness between 2 generations. Ryan took a slow step forward, eyes never leaving Jack's face. Every instinct told him this couldn't be real. But the voice, the details, the badge, everything lined up. Either this man held the truth Ryan had spent his life searching for, or he was the most convincing liar he'd ever met. Jack steadied himself against the cart, whispering as the anthem began. "I kept it because someone had to remember." Then he lifted his hand in a trembling salute to the flag at the far end of the street. Ryan followed before he realized it, hand rising instinctively. Blake hesitated, then mirrored him. One by one, the line of officers followed suit, saluting not protocol but something older. When the final note faded, Jack lowered his arm. So did Ryan. Their eyes met no words, no rank, just recognition. The convoy engines rumbled in the distance. And there, under the pale November sun, the broken badge of Falcon 9 glinted once more, a relic of a war the world had chosen to forget, and a question Ryan Cole could no longer ignore. Rain hammered the jungle through the night, turning every path into a vein of mud. By dawn, the valley was wrapped in fog so thick it swallowed sound. The helicopter's blades cut slow circles through the mist, each rotation echoing like a heartbeat. Inside the Huey, 7 soldiers sat shoulder to shoulder, faces painted black, silence absolute. No patches, no names, no unit insignia. They were Falcon 9 ghosts of a mission that didn't officially exist. Sergeant Jack Danner checked his rifle, then glanced across at Major Henry Cole. Cole was calm. Too calm, the kind of stillness that comes when a man has already accepted the odds. He unfolded the mission brief one last time. Across the top, stamped in red, high risk probable ambush. Jack leaned closer. Sir, command flagged this as compromised intel. Are we still going? Cole didn't flinch. They did. And I read every word. He folded the page carefully, tucking it into his vest. 2 pilots are down there, Jack. They deserve a chance. We all knew the price when we signed up. No one argued. The Huey dropped lower, skimming treetops. Rain lashed the windshield. Lightning flashed in the distance like artillery. Radio chatter crackled through static. Falcon 9, you are green to deploy. Cole raised 2 fingers. Go. The squad leapt into the downpour, swallowed instantly by the jungle. They moved fast, single file, boots sinking into the muck. Half an hour in, they found the first wreck American, still smoking. Blackened metal twisted into the roots of a tree. Cole scanned the ridge with binoculars. Too fresh, he murmured. They knew we'd come. A single rifle shot cracked the silence. Private Miller dropped before anyone heard the echo. Then the jungle erupted. Gunfire tore through the mist, bright streaks of orange cutting across the green. Jack dove behind a fallen log, the bark exploding beside his face. Cole's voice boomed through the chaos. Flank left, suppress and move. But the enemy was already surrounding them. The air buckled with heat. Jack grabbed the radio. Falcon Base, this is 9. We're compromised. Need extraction. Static swallowed his voice. Then a cold reply. You're on your own. For a second, everything froze. Cole met Jack's eyes, one heartbeat of silent understanding. Then he shouted, Move north! They ran, slipping through the mud as explosions lit the hills. The ridge dropped into a clearing. At its center lay the second crash site half buried, tail snapped, wings smoldering. Cole limped toward it, muttering, This is it. Inside the wreck were 2 bodies, uniforms unrecognizable. Jack covered them with a tarp. Cole stared for a long time, rain streaking down his face. Command knew, he whispered. This wasn't rescue. It was cleanup. Another mortar screamed overhead. Jack tackled Cole as the blast tore the clearing open. Heat roared over them. When the dust cleared, Cole was pinned beneath a beam, his leg crushed. Jack tried lifting it once, twice, metal groaned but held. Cole's face had gone pale. Run, Jack, he rasped. You can still make it. For one terrible moment, Jack hesitated. The tree line was open, the path clear. He could make it. Every instinct screamed to run, but he didn't. He dropped his pack, grabbed the beam, and heaved until his muscles tore. Not a chance, Hawk. The metal shifted an inch, just enough for Cole to breathe. Cole's hand fumbled for his vest pocket. He pulled out a scorched badge, the same one now burned into history. Listen, he said. There's a recording. I documented everything. Real orders. False intel. Names. He pressed a small cassette into Jack's palm. They'll bury this, Jack. Maybe they should. Maybe hiding it spares lives. But if it ever reaches the light, make sure it's told right. He coughed hard, voice breaking. If you find my son, tell him I wasn't a hero. Just a man who tried to do one thing right. Jack's throat tightened. I'll tell him myself when we both get home. Cole smiled faintly. Then promise me. I promise. Another explosion tore through the clearing. Jack threw himself over Cole as the world dissolved in fire and dirt. When he woke, everything was quiet except the rain. The beam was gone. So was Cole. Only ashes and metal remained. He stumbled through the wreckage, calling his name until his voice gave out. No answer, only the hiss of burning fuel. The badge and cassette were still in his hand, edges searing his skin. Days blurred. He drank rainwater, chewed leaves, dreamed of voices calling through the static. Once, he saw a flare far away American, but no aircraft came. On the 7th day, he reached an abandoned outpost. Rusted crates, an antenna bent like a broken limb. He found one working radio and keyed the mic. "This is Sergeant Jack Danner, Falcon 9. Requesting extraction." A pause, then a voice he didn't recognize. "Falcon 9 doesn't exist." The line went dead. Jack sat there, staring at the badge in his hand. He could still smell smoke on the metal. When he finally walked out of the valley 2 weeks later, he was barefoot, unshaven, a ghost in tattered green. A medic at Da Nang looked at his dog tags and frowned. "You're supposed to be dead." Jack managed a hoarse laugh. "Yeah, supposed to be." 2 men in suits came that night. No names, no insignia. They asked no questions, wrote nothing down. They simply handed him a file stamped Presumed Kia and left. The next morning, his pay stopped. His record vanished. Every door closed. Every call went unanswered. Eventually, he stopped trying. Years turned to decades. He drifted from base towns to shelters, from memory to silence. The badge stayed with him through it all, half broken, heavy, and real. Each Veterans Day, he watched the parades on television, searching the lists for names that never came. Falcon 9 wasn't there. Henry Cole wasn't there. Only silence. So he carried it still through 50 years of forgetting until that morning on Pennsylvania Avenue, when a boy's son finally saw the badge, and history turned to look back. The parade was over. Crowds drifted away, leaving behind puddles and confetti that stuck to the asphalt. Captain Ryan Cole stood by the barricade, raincoat open, eyes locked on the old man sitting by the curb. Jack Danner looked smaller now. His hands trembled around a paper cup of coffee someone had handed him. The broken badge rested on his knee, dull under the gray light. Ryan crouched in front of him. "Falcon 9, he said quietly. "You were really there." Jack didn't answer right away. He traced the edge of the badge with one finger, as if it could still burn him. "I was," he said finally. "At least, what's left of me was." Officer Blake shifted uncomfortably behind them. "Captain, we need to clear this area. Press is circling." Ryan ignored him. His eyes stayed on Jack. "The report said you deserted." Jack let out a dry, humorless laugh. "Yeah. Easier to call a ghost a coward than admit command left him to die." He looked up, rain beating on his lashes. "You really his boy?" Ryan hesitated. "Major Henry Cole was my father." Jack nodded slowly, as if confirming a weight he'd carried too long. "I thought so. You've got his stare. Makes a man check if he's still telling the truth." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, waterproof pouch. The plastic was yellowed, edges torn. Inside, a cassette tape. The label, faded to near nothing, still carried one name: Cole, H.Op. SF-71. "I kept it safe," Jack said. "Didn't play it. Wasn't mine to hear." Ryan took it gently, thumb tracing the crack across its surface. "You've held this for 50 years. Jack's voice softened. "A promise doesn't come with an expiration date." Blake frowned. "Captain, that tape could compromise half of D." "Oh, D." Ryan looked up. "Then maybe it finally matters." Jack's breath came slow now, uneven. "I don't need your pity, son. I need someone to listen." Ryan scanned the patrol car parked nearby. "Blake," he said, "you still have that old Walkman in your glove box." Blake blinked. "Sir, get it." 2 minutes later, the device sat on the hood of the cruiser. Rain ticked against the metal. Ryan plugged a small speaker into the jack, fingers trembling. Jack watched every movement, eyes glassy but alert. Lewis stepped forward, glancing at the crowd forming at a distance. "Captain, you sure you want to do this out here?" Ryan didn't answer. He pressed play. Static hissed, sharp and alive. Then a voice. Rough, young, steady. "This is Major Henry Cole, Falcon 9, recording at 0430 hours, November 7th, 1971. Ryan froze. He had never heard his father's voice before. Not once. Jack's lips parted, barely breathing. He knew every word before it came. "If you're hearing this," the mission went dark. Command knew the odds. They had intel, it was a trap, and they sent us anyway. A pause. "You can call it betrayal. I call it duty without faith." The tape crackled. Rain pattered faintly in the background of the recording. "I'm not bitter," the voice went on. "I chose this. We all did. 2 pilots are down there, and some things are still worth standing for even when nobody's watching." Ryan's hands tightened around the device. Every syllable cut deeper than the one before. The recording continued, voice strained but calm. "If this never airs, I'll understand. Not all truths serve the living, but if someone ever hears it, let them know we tried to be decent men in indecent times." A short silence. Then, gunfire. Cole's voice again, faint now, between breaths. "Ryan, if this reaches you..." Ryan's breath caught. "You were 3 years old when I left. You used to call helicopters sky dragons. You'd run around the yard with your arms out, making engine noises." A soft laugh, barely audible through the static. "God, I miss that sound." A pause. The rain grew louder in the background. "Know that I didn't walk away. I made a choice. Some promises are worth dying for." Another breath. "If Danner makes it out, trust him. He's the best man I ever served with. He'll tell you the truth when I can't." Then only static. For a moment, no one spoke. Only the hum of engines somewhere far away. Lewis wiped his face with the back of his glove. Blake swallowed hard, eyes glistening. Jack exhaled slowly. "Sky dragons," he whispered. "He told me that story the night before we jumped." Ryan looked down at the tape, then at Jack. His voice shook. "He remembered me." Jack's hand trembled as he reached out. "Every day, son. Every single day." Ryan gripped his shoulder. "You kept your word, Jack." Jack smiled faintly, eyes half-lidded. "Then I can rest." He leaned back, chest rising once more, then falling still. No drama, no last words. Just release. Ryan stayed kneeling beside him for a long time. The badge had slipped from Jack's coat and landed on the wet pavement. Ryan picked it up and placed it gently over his heart. A voice cut through the radio, sharp and cold. "Captain Cole, this is command. We're aware of the situation. That tape is classified material. You are ordered to surrender it immediately." Ryan stared at the speaker. Then, at the tape in his hand. Then, at the man who had carried it half a century through silence. He pressed the transmit button. "With respect, sir. This isn't classified. It's testimony. And it's going public." Static answered. Then a new voice, familiar. Firm. "Captain, you're jeopardizing your career." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Then I guess I'll finally earn it." He switched the radio off. Lewis looked at him. "What now?" Ryan pocketed the tape and stood. "Now, we stop pretending we don't know." Blake moved closer. "Sir, the media's waiting outside the cordon." Ryan nodded. "Good. Then let them film." The rain had eased. In the puddles, red and blue lights shimmered like fading memories. He walked toward the ambulance as paramedics covered Jack's body with a flag. Ryan helped smooth the corners, then stepped back. The badge gleamed once before being hidden beneath the fabric. He raised his hand in one final salute, not for the uniform, but for the promise behind it. Blake's voice was quiet. 50 years, huh?" Ryan nodded. 50 years he carried it. "Now it's our turn." They loaded the stretcher into the ambulance. The doors closed softly. Ryan looked down at his reflection in the wet asphalt. In one hand, his father's badge. In the other, the cassette that proved the story was real. Tomorrow, it would change everything. But tonight, he just stood there watching the lights fade and letting an old soldier rest. The story broke before sunrise. By morning, the world had heard the voice of Major Henry Cole. His words steady, human, undeniable, played across every news channel in America. Some things are still worth standing for even when nobody's watching. The headline read, "Falcon 9, the mission the Pentagon erased." Phones rang across Washington. Press secretaries scrambled. The Defense Department issued statements full of half-answers and heavy sighs. But the tape kept playing, and people kept listening. Veteran groups rallied outside the Capitol, waving flags older than most of the cameras filming them. A retired general appeared on live television, his voice cracking mid-sentence. "That's Henry Cole," he said. "I served with him. They told us he vanished. They didn't tell us why." Freedom of information requests flooded in by the hundreds. Old reporters came out of retirement. Someone found an unmarked file buried in the National Archives. One word stamped on the cover, Falcon. Ryan Cole watched it all from his apartment window. The phone on his table vibrated non-stop calls from journalists, officers, even members of Congress. He didn't answer any of them. The tape sat on the counter beside a folded flag and a badge, now polished clean. The phone rang again. He picked it up. His superior's voice came through, tired but not angry. "Captain Cole, you're suspended pending investigation." Ryan nodded silently. "Understood." There was a pause. Then the man added softly, "For what it's worth, you did the right thing." The line went dead. That night, another call came. A voice Ryan didn't recognize, older, hesitant. "Captain Cole, my name is Bill Mercer. I served with your father. We thought no one would ever know." Ryan sat down slowly. "Tell me." And he did. For an hour, the old soldier talked about the mission, the men, the lies that followed. When he finished, he said, "There are more of us. Not many, but we're still here." Ryan wrote down every name. 3 days later, the sky above Arlington was the color of old silver. Ryan walked among the rows of white stones, Jack's folded flag tucked under his arm. No family had claimed him, so Ryan had. He reached the new section of the memorial wall. Fresh engraving caught the light. Falcon 9 lost, but not forgotten. Below it, 2 names carved side by side. Major Henry Cole, Sergeant Jack Danner. Ryan knelt, setting the flag at the base. Then he placed the badge above it, the metal warm from his hand. "Welcome home, Dad," he whispered. "And you too, Jack." Footsteps echoed softly behind him. Ryan turned. An old man stood a few feet away, leaning on a cane. His jacket bore faded insignia, another unit long erased from official history. "I thought I was the only one left who remembered," the man said. Ryan rose. "You're not alone anymore." The veteran nodded, eyes glistening. He saluted the wall. Ryan followed. For a long time, they stood in silence. 2 generations divided by a lie finally undone. The man lowered his arm, voice rough but steady. "How many more stories are still buried out there?" Ryan looked across the endless rows of stones. 50 years of silence had just cracked open because one old soldier refused to forget. "We'll find out," Ryan said. The man reached into his pocket and handed him a worn photograph. Another group of soldiers, another jungle. "When you're ready," he said. "There are more of us." Ryan accepted it carefully, eyes scanning the faces, young, determined, forgotten. "I'll find them," he said. "I know you will." The man walked away, cane tapping against the stone path. Ryan turned back to the wall, tracing his father's name one last time. Then he placed the badge beneath it. Not as an offering, but as a promise. A breeze swept through the rows, catching the flags overhead. They snapped once bright, alive. Ryan squared his shoulders, saluted, and whispered the words his father left behind. "Some things are still worth standing for." He turned toward the morning light. Behind him, the badge glinted softly in the sun, no longer a relic of silence, but a vow fulfilled. And somewhere beyond the white stones, 50 years of forgetting finally found its voice.